Oi oi! First of the previews for the Greyhound Derby is being recorded. This is what this video is. I'm going to try and do this for each round, give my view of each race, how things might pan out. The good thing about the Toaster Derby, I touched on this in the previous video, is that we get to see the same dogs running against each other at the same track over the same trip, and we've got the earlier rounds going into the quarterfinal, semi-final, the final. There's lots of rounds that will be in there. You get to see lots of dogs running over and over again, which means while it's good to have the form book and it is important about the times and the sectionals, visually it's very important to watch greyhound racing. If, like me, you've been out of the game for a little while and you've sort of just been dabbling your toe in the open scene, then, you know, watching these dogs run, especially the Irish when they've come over, will be really helpful in those first few rounds to sort out some bets later on. If you're brand new to greyhound racing, this is an excellent opportunity to get involved in it because, again, you get to just watch the dogs going against each other, so you get to learn as you go. A lot of the open race scene is a dog might run at Romford each week. You might get some dogs that will dot about going for competitions in and around, and it's nice with those because you do get a bit of a rapport built up with the dogs, but it does mean you need to follow it for months and months on end. Whereas with this, you can just sit back, enjoy the derby alongside something like the Euros. Nice couple of sporting events going on at the same time, and much like a Euros, you can see which teams are maybe playing well in the group games to look later on in that competition that you might fancy as a bet. So without further ado, we're going to chuck straight in. I'm using the Greyhound Star website for the full form. They do have it in red characters, as you'll see, the prices for each dog anti-post. What I'm going to do is slap up on the betting slip my selection for the race and possibly like a forecast, tricast, depending on how I feel in the race. Talk about what I think in each heat could happen, and we could potentially pinch out some anti-post bets in here. If you do bet anti-post before the derby kicks off, it will be each way first six of every bookmaker. So all you have to do is reach the final. First three greyhounds will qualify in each round, and obviously in this first round, I say obviously, in this first round there are some non-runners, there's some 5-dog heats, so there are some potential legs where you think I'm definitely getting around that anti-post. Could nip a little bit of value. So anywho, first leg up we've got one Irish runner, which is Romeo Magico. Got a lot of dogs in here that have just trialled round here as opposed to raced round here. Of course, the form we're seeing is only more recent. You can always go to Greyhound Data or other sites to find out some deeper form. But I like the look of this race because I think there's a couple of nice dogs in here. Like, I think we've got some real genuine competition dogs that could go a fair way in the race. I'll just probably whittle my way down. We've got no brackets next to these top 4 dogs. That means they're all railers. Then we've got a middle seed, we've got a wide seed. We'll see this a lot, especially in the first round, that there will be lots and lots and lots of dogs that are seeded rails. A lot of trainers will do this because they know so many dogs are going to be railers. They might as well keep it as a railer, because if you seeded it middle, you're going to get 5 or 6 in the first round. And lots of these dogs, like your Fat Boys Exile that wants a rails to mid draw, for example, probably doesn't want to be drawn in 5, probably doesn't want to be drawn in 4, in fairness to it either. So we're just going to run down the runners. Johnny, you see there is a section of 4:45. He has run round Romford and run well at Romford. He can trap out well. You can see from the sectionals there he can get to the first bend. 381 isn't a bad section at Romford, but it's not exactly the fastest. Romeo Magico, that 417 sectional is decent. 29.76 is a decent time as well. In theory, should only improve on that. That was the first look round the track. Romeo Magico looks like he's got a good chance to lead up here. Also, John O'Ugo probably does look the most railer of all of these rail seeds, so it's not worked out too bad. Jim Star Elusive in 3. See, the main man, Charlie Lister, is an owner of this, so anything that he's involved with does need to be looked at more than once. Progressive trials there, you can see he stepped up on his first to his second trial. Sectionals leave a little bit to be desired, to be honest, but the good thing about Toaster is it's a long run into the first bend, although I would say that there seems to be more trouble than there needs to be at that first turn. Jim Star Elusive, again on the clock, should have every reason to see that he could qualify. Whether he can catch Romeo Magico, I don't know. How the run's going to go to the first bend and round that corner, I don't know either, because Fat Boys Exile, although those sectionals are actually a little bit slower than Romeo Magico, they're still reasonable, and that sort of pace into the first bend with rails to middle sort of markings on there for comments, maybe he's going to move in. So this is where it's important to be able to watch those first heats and see how things go on. It's also worth noting that the traps at Toaster are set away from the rails to begin with, so a lot of dogs will move in from right to left as it goes anyway. Some dogs would like to say bullet straight out of the trap, so we can see more trouble right out of lid rise than others, but you know, in this sort of heat you'd like to think that maybe the better dogs can get themselves through. 5's a really nice dog, 6 looks a nice potential type for going forward. Both of those probably just sort of top graders as opposed to top open racers. You'd probably think if everything went well, that 1, 2 and 3 would be the qualifiers in here. Probably 2, 3 would be the most solid of those 3 that I've mentioned. So I'd say 2, 3, and then probably almost anything else could go in, but likely the one dog. I wouldn't particularly look at any of these and think these are anti-post punts that I'd want to be getting stuck in with. Romeo Magico is always going to need to ping and get gone, so that could worry him later on. And Jim Star Elusive, I think his style of running possibly is going to lend him to get into a bit of trouble early on. Although if he does manage to qualify through a few rounds, we could see some improvement in those times again. So the second heat this is both on Thursday, these heats. There's a few that are on the Thursday. We got a few dogs in here that will be slightly bigger price. You can see there's a couple of 500 to 1 pokes, which is interesting as well because, okay, I'm not saying these dogs are going to go and win it, but you'll see there this is a 500 to 1 poke and it's done a 29.56 and a 29.58 around the track. Now they're decent times, as you'll see. It's borderline the fastest dog in this race on those recent trials. It's only a September 19 puppy. You can see there from the previous trials that it's had round here that rails to middle, and the fact that it likes to potentially try and get out in front there in qualifying trials. Those sectionals, 435s, and then all the way down here to a 452, like they're not going to really be fast enough to get itself out in front. So as a puppy, may lack a little bit of track craft to get itself round. So despite the fast times on the clock there, that'll be the slight area for concern. And as I touched on with the railers, this looks like a bang railer. So draw's not been too kind for it. Who knows? Maybe get lucky, maybe get out and get round. Church Mick on the inside, decent sectional there, 416, decent overall time in 29.70. You can see there that it has raced in an open race and it ran okay, disputed the lead to the first, and then you can see from back straight pace, etc. It's not really done anything to go and pick up the dogs that were in front. It started around third and it finished around third. You'd probably start to argue a little bit with this dog that how much faster can it be. Denmark in 2 is a really nice dog. You can see here it's gone lots of different open races at lots of different tracks and it's always relatively well fancied, bar this bottom line at Perry Bar. 29.68 for the look round there. 426 sectional going into the bend. Nice enough dog. How that race is going to play to the first bend, I'm not sure. Great Eastern in 3 could probably stay where it is, but might move in potentially. 29.88 and a 415 sectional. So that it looks like it's a race that's definitely going to have trouble in it, especially on the run up to that first bend. Drumcrow Brent on the wide outside obviously has the luxury of being the sole Y seed and getting a really good draw. Springwell Sully in 5 probably has got a good draw as well, although it's a middle seed. We know Savannah Scrappy's going to probably move in. Springwell Sully has run from the 5 at least recently on a couple of occasions. There's actually one from the trap. Time-wise, that does leave something to be desired to actually be like a progressive dog and a dog that could win in the Derby, but draw-wise probably should get round. Drumcrow Brent on the wide outside, you would probably suggest is probably one of the better bets of the first round. So wide seed, probably the fastest dog in the race for consistency. Sectionals are pretty solid as well, so you'd fancy that Drumcrow Brent will go around and he would be probably a handy bet in that first round when we're looking at dogs. He's 125 to 1 poke, as we can see there. Wide seeds, there's not too many of them, so this will help him for going forward. He would be the sort of dog that, as I'm saying here, I think he'll definitely win this race. And I think as well 125 to 1 potentially could be the ones that you might want to add onto your list for a anti-post punt. So Drumcrow Bent in the second heat could be one to add to your slip for an anti-post punt, as well as a poke in here. The only slight negative with him in terms of looking further forward to it is he has run a 29.54 there, second you can see, and then he ended up third. We can see there it's just held on, and we can see here a bumped quarter and didn't run a very good time. Now, as much as he got trouble at the first bend and he led near the line and he beat an okay dog in New in Jacko, wouldn't really scream out that this dog is loving the trip, like the best stayer at the trip. And with those sectionals as well, probably not going to get into the first bend in front all the time. Maybe a dog that needs to get a bit of luck, maybe a dog that needs to get out in front to be able to show his best chance, and probably not a dog that can win the Derby, but just thought process for that. Then the third heat, we've got a nice bunch in here. We're starting to see some arguably better dogs that are in here. Ballymac Kingdom looks a really nice dog. He's won quite a lot from these middle-ish traps, although he's been seeded as a railer in here, and he will win from the inside as well. He has won from as far out as 4 before over in Ireland. Bombardier in 2's probably got quite a nice draw. Swift Cope on the rail is a dog that can fly out the lids, but on some occasions as well might not do so much. I think being drawn on the rails is going to be a massive, massive help for Swift Cope. We can see there that when he did absolutely bolt out, he did a 29.33, which is a furious time round here. Although more recently we can see similar sectional, only ran a 29.72, so just be careful of those one quick runs in isolation for a dog. Bombardier should improve for each run in. Ballymat Book in 3 maybe shouldn't be good enough for it. It was an A3 win around here, albeit in a okay time. Frankie's Jet in 5, a reasonable draw, although we'll probably move in slightly, I think. 29.46 is a decent time, and we can see there what Frankie's Jet's been doing at Newcastle. It's been winning, and it's been shortish price round there. So the tricky thing with the draw on dogs like this is, like, probably Frankie's Jet does want to be in the middle, probably doesn't want to be as wide as 5 in this first and probably second round. It is going to be as wide as that, but you'd think this dog does stay, and you'd think that this dog should qualify, although this potentially could be a deep enough race. We've got lots of dogs in here that dip under 30. So Ballymat Kingdom would be the dog that I like a bit. It's just that pace to the first bend and see how he gets on. Frankie's Jet I quite like, but it just sees how he runs to the that first bend and see how he gets round. Interesting enough heat, to be honest with you. It'll be one of those that you want to watch and see what dogs are doing to each other, because they could finish in a bit of a heat, this lot, or something could go and pull itself clear. 4th heat, Vigorous Kevin in 1 is actually a non-runner. I think he was bitten, so we can forget about him. That does change the complexity of the race quite a bit, because again we've got those 4 raiders in here, but now we've only got 3, although the inside trap has gone, so you're going to think almost everything's going to move in a little bit here. New in hero, you can see there's got the 6 jacket on him and the 5. Swift Edition's got the 6, so these 2 you'd think would stay out a bit. Everything else is going to have the opportunity to move in slightly. Drum Duit Bruno 30.26, like, it just ain't quick enough. Even its Yarmouth times are, well, that 28.01's not bad at Yarmouth, although it did get beat. You want to be under 28 seconds around there. This is a different track, different trip, different test. Wouldn't be for me. Ballymat Gabo, again, the time wise doesn't do enough for me. Again, potentially able to improve for being over here, but I couldn't have him. Great name, that 29.43. You can see from the traps that he's been running out of the 3s and the 4s. Middleish will suit him. If they do move in, it'll be okay for him. New in hero might step in slightly, but not by too much. We don't have anything for toaster form to go by for new in hero in 5 here. All we can try and look at is some comparisons for what he's done to other dogs. Now, we haven't got anything deep in here for lots of dogs to look at, and we don't know what the depths of the form would have been in terms of how the races were ran out, whether there was trouble in there or not. But we could see here that he's run 5.25 at Shelbourne, 28.68 there, 28.50, so like a 28.60ish dog at Shelbourne. We can see here that these 2 5.25 races, although the dog that's running there, Ballymat Gabo, that we know's not really fast enough to be doing well in here, has run 29 deads. He's running 30 10s round here, so that makes new in hero roughly 29.70 at best dog round here, and you can see the winning times there: 28.45, 28.10s as the times round at Shelbourne. So 28.49 and a 28.68 round there. Again, we don't know what trouble was in there, but you'd think that this isn't going to be the fastest of the Irish runners. And the Swift Edition's got a good draw out in 6. Did win round here, but again, it's in an A2. So all in all, great name, that looks to have a decent draw. Great name, that looks to have a decent amount of pace about him. Great name, that should probably be winning that heat. So that'll be probably 2 bets out of the first 4 heats we could look at for backing on the night. Heat 5, outnumbered's drawn in 1, 29.55, decent enough sectional, decent spin that for a first look round the track. You'd be relatively happy with your connection with that. Again, if we're looking at the Shelbourne Park times, 5.25 to the 29.03, so when we go back to looking at what the dog did in the previous race, you can't really compare them like for like, just like that. So this is where the first round, watching them actually run, is all important. Lights out in 2, maybe, I mean, it'll be okay there, but it's run quite a lot out of the middle traps, 3s and 4s. 29.67's good, progress from that 29.82. Not the way out, 601 poke, 0 chances, you can see there probably. Goldie's Mabbott, 29.83, crowded and then did stay on, but I just don't think the time's quick enough. and even away from this track, running in graded A2s, and it can't win. So pinch of salt with the time that is actually recorded on there. Russian Blake in 5 will be happy being there. This is the first heat. We've got a middler and a middler, and then 2 wides in the wide traps. So talk about those times at Yarmouth. If you want to dip under 28, this is done at 27.95. Again, still not lightning quick. These times at Romford, 24 deads are pretty good, but you can dip under 24 at Romford. So I think this Westway Blake looks a nice dog. The one thing that would concern me from this race perspective is Thorn Falcon won a maiden competition round it and was very fast each heat. It just got faster and faster and run really well. So again, it's a wide seed in here. Not too many of them in the Derby. 25 to 1, like you can see, he's very well fancied to actually go well in the Derby all the way around. These very wide 2 and very wide 2 comments for Russian Blake worry me slightly for Thorn Falcon. Now, he's quick enough in terms of sectionals, but this Russian Blake, if he does show that early pace that he's done at Romford, talked about a dog earlier on that did a 381, these are the fast sectionals at Romford. Maybe Thorn Falcon could get into a little bit of trouble, but on the clock-wise, you'd think he's still better qualify in this heat. It is 3 that go through. Derota's Wildcat, the absolute early-paced machine that he was. Thorn Falcon's got a bit of that in him. He's the one that should be winning this. I wouldn't be backing him. He'll be short price, and because of those wide comments, but he'll be one to watch and just to see how he handles the riding of the race. But looks a nice enough heat for learning stuff going forward. But it really is all eyes on Thorn Falcon in that. Heat 6, still on the Thursday. Looked like power in 1. Those Newcastle times are okay for Newcastle-ish. See it staying on. The 500 here should suit better. 29.94 for a first spin. I would have liked to have seen a little bit better, to be honest, if I was thinking that it could really progress from those Newcastle times. So he's on the back burner for now. Savannah King, 4.33. You can see there's a missed break and there's a slower way. So these 2 aren't the quickest to the bend, which means Savannah King might get away with it this time round, but in maybe the second round or third round, it's going to get found out a bit more early pace. But 29.67 is a nice time. And of course, you're looking at dogs like these that do stay. These are in solo trials, so they should better show basically as fast as they're going to get. So Savannah King so far looks to have a reasonable poke in trap 2, despite the fact that I don't think he'll be able to do it throughout. Golden Tiger in 3, middle-ish dog you can see from running there, although it's got middle to rails and rails to middle as comments. Seeded as a railer, 30.06. You want to see quicker than that, especially from a 4.15 sectional. That's quite fast out of the boxes. Bodie's Bullet, be happy in 4. Again, it's a middle seed in middle trap, so that's fine. 29.97. You need to be doing better than that. Bandicoot Sammy, another middle seed, but in 5. Now this is the one here, you can see rails, mid to rails. This would be one that worries me slightly more. Bodie's Bullet will be fine in 4. Bandicoot Sammy will probably want to move him. You can see that there's some early pace, admittedly slow away there, so we'll have to see how this dog traps to the bend. But it's done a 29.40 when it showed that early pace and got there, which is quick. And then you can see there it was short price, absolutely battered, rough ride all the way around the track. 30.28, but that was from trap 1, so middle seed, they probably wanted it in the middle. It's in 5. I don't know how this dog's going to run. 29.40 is definitely quick enough. And then Jew Maria Sprite in 6. Lots of middle comments that are in there, although we've got the wide seed about it. Does seem to stay the trip quite well, but I just don't think it's probably quick enough. 29.78 there with quick away, and then you can see it just progressively got worse as it went on. Could be trouble in this race for sure. Maybe Savannah King might get okay through on the inside. If Bandicoot Sammy managed to somehow get on the bunny, they would absolutely dot up, but wouldn't be one for betting in race in isolation, or even from an anti-post perspective. Heat 7 on the Thursday. Nice looking race we've got here. New In Session's a dog that I quite like. Getting beat in that open race would have been disappointing, but did suffer some trouble early on. Like 29.42, 29.58 after. We know when it ran over at Nottingham last year in the Derby, it was arguably unlucky when it got trouble bulked. You can see there was 6-4. It was fab for the Derby at Nottingham last time. I think Toaster will suit better. It's going to be consistent with the sectionals. It's got the early pace to keep running through the line to that first bend. Trap 1 here. 4.20s are okay sectionals. Again, the finishing time of it's not strong enough. Bramble Tony, potentially here, we can see there's rails and we can see there that it's run inside a little bit. 4.37s, it shouldn't really be affecting New In Session to the first bend, so again on the clock you wouldn't expect him to be a danger. All About Ted will be happy where he is. Vacant box on the outside, but he'll stay straight enough at 4 anyway. 29.64 is a good time, but you can see there absolutely pinged, bolted, gone, so maybe lead New In Session down the back straight and then New In Session can pick it up. And then Racket Hall Leo, sole wide seed in this particular heat, got an empty box on the inside of him. 30.04 winning an A4. Can't run winning a derby. That's why it's 600 to 1 poke. So new in session will be short. I don't really think I'd be wanting to put it up as a bet in the race, although it should be winning. But of the heats that we've seen so far, this would be the third of the dogs that I'd think, if you were thinking of sticking a little cheeky hack or anything like that, you maybe give new in session a bit of a chance. It would just be how he goes to that first bend, because Jazz Toes on the inside, although it's not going to be able to live with new in session as the race goes on, might just be able to sneak up on the inside of him, and yeah, Bramble Tony then on the outside of him might move it. So there could be a bit of trouble, but you'd still think new in session's classy enough to get through it. Heat 8 on the Thursday. Permanent Smile is another non-runner. Can't remember why, but non-runner. So we've got the 2 railers that are left, and then we've got 2 middles and a wide, but track 1 will still be vacant. See there, again, 4.18, decent sectional. We can see these quick away comments, 30.26, nowhere near good enough. Call of Annie Kaiser at 4.16, decent sectional, 29.76. We're starting to get a bit better, and they were nice times at one more as well. Really like a good looking dog, the way that he was winning his races. Biggish built dog, to be fair to him. Can only improve on that first look round here, so exciting times ahead for him. Mountain Sweep, big price, 30.24 is just not good enough. Chelms Prince, another one that's a fairly big price, 29.87 and a 29.90. Like I say, dogs should really progress from their runs. We can see back here there's a sales run, and he's had a good few looks around the track. Probably looking a little bit exposed, to be honest, but still a sub 30 dog, so a nice dog for connections. Priceless Jet out in 6. Again, we've got another sole wide seed. I actually did the clock round here, 29.11, and absolutely battered this Burnchurch Mick. Boyle Sports Bingo is a reasonable dog as well, and he did him nicely in a trial, but that was a 29.53. Then you can see in between got absolutely murdered in the track, and did a 30.31. So the fact they've now put him back on the outside, we don't know whether we can do a 4.16 or a 4.14 again. There was 4.30s prior to that, and it is a dog that stays well nicely as well. But again, with the draw being the wide seed, you'd fancy the Priceless Jet should be mopping up in this heat. And again, the depth, it doesn't look that strong. Like, you think this dog could run below par, still win. So Priceless Jet would probably be one for the Accas or the short bits. Carry on with Thursday's racing. We've got Heat 9 here. I think everything in this is going. Millhouse Allen, 1,000 to 1 poke. Almost no point looking at him, but the only thing I would say is, and his dog does just stay, but he's actually got a more reasonable time and recent decent form here, suggests that he's a bigger price than other dogs that maybe that isn't the way that it should be. Deadly Missile, a nice dog, but top grader rather than an open racer. Signet Ace or Signet Ace, depending how you want to say it. That's a really good trial. The Monmore times are okay. I just don't know if a dog can do that in the solo. Like, can he actually replicate that in the race? I'm just not so sure. But where he's drawn, he's going to be leading up 1 and 2. Probably going to be leading up 4 that wants to stay in the middle anyway. So probably does have a chance to get on the bunny. So from a heat perspective, Silent Ace probably could run quite well. The 4 dog there, we can see 29.80s. And then it's just got a bit of bump and it's well beaten after. And then we can look at the 6, Chasing Landy, 30.04 in a trial. It's just not good enough, and even the 28.44 at Mum was not good enough. So maybe Sign at 8 could be a bet in that first round. I suspect it'd be fairly short. I just can't see this dog being a competition dog. I just feel like he doesn't really see out the trip as well as others. He'll need to get out and get on the bunny to do his best running, but from the purpose of first round heats, Sign at 8 probably should be going in. This must be Heat 10 on the Thursday. Drumdeep Bomber. I don't think we've got any other nons in here, just to check. Drumdeep Bomber on the inside. Another one that like traps well in the main. Sectional wise though, for a dog that traps, doesn't seem to have as much early as others. So I've talked about this before, where I prefer a dog with early than a dog that traps. That was true of Dorot's Wildcat, although he could trap on his day. Sometimes round here though, you do just want someone that's the best at lid rise. Shilone Milo, 4.19 was obviously a better sectional there. 29.51, probably as good as it's going to get. So you wonder with 1 and 2. They're both capable of running reasonable times. They might just ruin each other's chances early on. Plaza Lep's another one that's, again, early pace, quick away-ish. It's another nice dog. Wouldn't be screaming out to me that he's got a chance of winning a derby personally. Bodacious in 4, you can see it's 1,000 poke. 29.88 on the clock though, so time-wise isn't exactly the slowest, is he? But Wouldn't fancy him to be doing so well in this. Bubbly Magnum's a nice dog. Sometimes seems to struggle running in his races to get clear runs. Would expect him to try and get out and on the bunny. I think Nottingham will suit. The longer run into the first bend will suit him than some other tracks that he's raced at. You see 29.75 going into a 29.57. He is progressive. Needs to do it well at lid rise. Smurf Machine's a very similar dog as Bubbly Magnum, but they're both like early pacey dogs. They want to do bits. I put Smurf Machine up a long time ago on the Facebook Greyhound page when he was running the D1. I managed to get him beat. He won at a big price in one of the heats last year at Nottingham Derby when I put him up. I think he was 10s, 12s. Nice dog. We'll be trying to run similar to Bubbly Magnum. Like, we'll try and just get out there and get on the bunny early. If he can trap, then I'll give him a serious chance of running well here. And he's got lots of early as well. Would be happily drawn out at the wide as well. Like, I think he's a nice dog, but it'd be, for me, it'd be a match between 5 and 6 in this heat. Wouldn't be one for betting, and it would be one that I think if they ran it a few times over, we'd probably get a different result that's in there. So we'll be moving on to the Friday stuff. I'm going to just take a quick 5-minute break in between, and then I'll pick up the recording again, and we'll go from there.